I have to just. All right. Good morning. Here we are, Windowside Chat. I am so happy and excited to have you on with me, Jeralyn. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We go back a long ways. It's so nice to see you. And I know you're local here to us in Somerset County. And I'm just really excited because, you know, the guests I bring on every Thursday are ones that I hope will help the viewers, you know, just kind of have a go-to point for everything and anything they could be going through. And I know this year with people being stuck at home with each other, you know, life has changed for all of us. We don't even need to get into that. But I just, I know you are an attorney, but for our guests listening, I want to ask you a few questions. Would that be good with you? Okay. So, you know, I'm all about empowerment and women finding their inner strength and finding their voice, so to speak, and doing sometimes things that are extremely difficult. So how does a divorce, let's say, actually, you know, going through a divorce really empower a woman?
All right, so we'll talk about that. First, want to just thank you for having me. I've been following you for years. You do such wonderful work and provide such community outreach. Watchung's lucky to have you, Somerset County is. So thank you for everything that you do. Just to answer your question, it's empowering. How it can feel empowering is really, it's a mindset. How is a particular person approaching this? And what I try to say to my clients is view this as an opportunity. If you're going to move forward, if you're making that very hard decision to divorce, view it as an opportunity. And I ask them to fill out for me a wish list. Where do they want to be in a year? What does life look like for you? What are your goals? Some people say, is your dog driving you crazy there?
No, I have okay.
Okay, good. Just keep throwing them treats.
Joy of working from home.
It's life, sister. We just got to figure it out. I'm happy my kids aren't jumping on my head as I so if we got to take care of your dog as we go, we do that. So what I ask them to do is really just work on a wish list. It's one of the first questions in my initial consultation. Where do you want to be in a year? Some clients say, I want the house. No matter what, I want the house. Some people say, I can't stand the house and I want to be at the Jersey Shore. I want to be on the beach. I want to be close to the beach. I want to be in a lake community. Write that down. How do we try to get you there? Some people don't want to go back to work immediately. They may want to stay home with the kids. Some may say, I want to go back to work, or I want to go to school, or I always wanted to study this or get that degree or that certification. So we talk about that. And really, if you view it as an opportunity, so many times people, and particularly women, put themselves on the back burner and they acquiesce to what their kids want, what their spouse wants. And we always come in last, whether it's taking care of our physical health, our mental health. And we just do that because I don't know why, but we do. We're just always the peacemaker, the family coordinator. And so now it's the time to say, hey, this is me now. What do I want? And when you're able to approach it that way and use it as an opportunity to redefine or redirect your life, there can be some level of excitement to it. There's always going to be fear. Change is hard. The unknown is hard. But you really want to come out of the process not bitter and not angry, because if you come out of it that way, it really thwarts your ability to develop a post-divorce happy life, right? And so if you approach it as an opportunity and a revision and a redirection of life, I really think you'll come out on the better, for the better on the other side.
Absolutely. You are so right about everything you said. That is, we don't know why, but it is just that way. Women are always the ones who are trying to be the peacemakers, and we end up almost, they're calling it martyrism, right? Because we are, and then we give and we give so much, and then we just reach a point and we're like, that's it.
That's
But
right.
honestly, whose fault is that, that we give and we give? It's our fault. If we don't know how to draw boundaries, if we don't teach our kids how to draw boundaries, then people are just going to take, because why not?
Why not?
Right? So no, that's awesome that you approach it, from all aspects, because that's what it is. It's just not signing papers and splitting assets or whatever. There's so much emotional stuff that happens with a, separation or divorce. So
much emotion. And the most challenging cases are where someone is in the locker room getting ready for the race and somebody is at the finish line having already run the race. Wow. So those are very difficult divorces to manage. And it's not necessarily because of the dollars and cents of it. It's because you just need time, and the emotional distance of where the parties can be is a challenge. So much of what we do is trying to manage emotions, and really just I also say to my clients, while you're hurting, you're healing too. So every day that goes by, is you're healing.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
You got to dig deep, just like you got to lay everything out on paper as far as assets and finances and all that other stuff. You also have to dig at that time, everything you're feeling, everything you've held back, everything, the resentment, everything, just get it out there, throw it all out, right? I mean, because that's the only way one can really start. So I know there's a lot of, friends, clients in the past who stay in relationships, stay in a situation when they know it is affecting them physically, emotionally, their health, everything. So what advice would you give to a woman that are just so afraid of taking this next step that they are suffering year after year?
That's common. I can't tell you how many consultations I do, and I say, they're with me, and I say, well, when did you start thinking about this? They're like, years ago, and it just stays on the back burner, and it may just fester there for a while, and they will suffer in silence, always, thinking tomorrow will be better, or this will change, or that will change. I think the best advice there is really just build your village. Build your village, build your team, build your village of friends, the ones that will talk to you, and really just listen, judgment-free listening. And you may say the same story over and over again, but you need those special friends that don't mind, they'll listen. Add to that team therapeutic resources, get a great therapist, so that they can help you navigate this. But you're not alone. There's plenty of books in a bookstore or online for almost anything that you're feeling. How to divorce a narcissist, how to leave an abuser. And you read these books and it's almost as if you have written this book. So it's really just convincing people that you're not alone. There's resources out there, whether it be just your personal friends, whether it be someone skilled and trained in the therapeutically in the professional process, but just get that team assembled. And I think just the feeling of knowing you're not alone will help. That feeling of walking around your own home on eggshells eventually will get old. And when I say that sentence to you, walking around on eggshells, that resonates with you, that resonates with me, and that's going to resonate with people. It's a phrase that you can't believe some of our friends are living like that, but they are. And when they say that to someone else, they're like, well, I understand that. I understand how that feels. And that validation, I think, goes a long way. But the main thing that they need to remember is they go to bed by themselves every night and you wake up to yourself. So you're accountable to one person. That's and right. When, if you just have a quiet moment and follow that inner voice and follow what your gut is telling you, you know what you're supposed to do. It's just, it may just take you time to get there.
Yeah, no, that I think that's the best advice you can do, is to build your village. It's so true, because if you can't leave for whatever reason, and you do feel you're about like like you just said, I mean, you nailed it, you know, just knowing that, oh my God, I can talk to these people, I can vent. I'm not replaying that same dialogue in my head alone, you know, just to hear somebody just listen and say, it's okay. Yeah, I understand what you're going, you know, I hear you. I hear you.
You know what also helps is journaling.
Yeah.
When you journal your thoughts, because you can have an incident happen in your marriage and you journal it, and then time passes and then something else happens and you go back and you're like, wow, I even forgot that happened. So what's happening is no longer an isolated incident. It's you have, you know, in a defense mechanism almost forgotten it, really, to just protect yourself so that you can move forward. But if you start journaling, you know, what's happening to you, I think at some point a clear picture
will arrive,
develops, and then a decision kind of emerges from there, whether you decide to stay or go. Wow. But at least you're doing it with the full picture.
So. Yeah. You're so right. And, you know, here we are, 2020, the entire year pretty much has gone with COVID. I mean, who would have ever thought? But, you know, here we are. Everybody's losing somebody in their family, somebody they know, somebody, you know, young, old. I mean, how has this year affected your business, in the sense, has it pushed people more towards, you know, saying, okay, that's it, you know, because they are stuck in close quarters or whatever? Have people kind of reached their boiling point more? I mean, in your profession, what have you seen this year?
I think so. I mean, now it's very, very busy with new cases, new filings. And when there's cracks in a relationship or a marriage, you know, they are just exacerbated, you know, by stress like this. I saw it in response to 9/11. You know, the pundits were saying they thought people would stay together after 9/11. I saw the exact opposite. You know, when you have moments like this where you are shown how fragile and fleeting life is, people take stock in their relationships, in their life, and they want to be happy. At the end of the day, people want to have a nice life without stress. They want to laugh, they want to smile, they want to have fun, and they want to be happy. And that's always going to be, I think, the innate goal to get you there. And when you have, you know, tragic events like 9/11 or what we've all been experiencing since March with this pandemic, I think it heightens your awareness as to what you want in your life and what you don't want. And so if there's cracks, they are really broken wide open in things like this. You mentioned the word resentment. I'm seeing a lot of that now. I mean, with school being remote, some schools fully remote, some partial, you know, people are being asked to work full time, teach their kids full time, you know, and then try to manage extracurricular activities at night. And so if couples are not sharing that load equally, resentment is building. So yes, I think it's very busy now. There was a period of time when when it first started in March, April, everyone was just afraid. Mm-hmm. So it was eerily quiet, but I think everyone was just really just adapting to the circumstances. What we were dealing with more there was not new cases, but more post-judgment cases or figuring out custody and parenting time. There was a lot of litigation, and our courts never closed, not once. They have immediately pivoted to virtual proceedings or phone. But a lot of parents, some had real concern about facilitating parenting time, and some, you know, really used it as an excuse to thwart parenting time. And so you needed to figure that out. So, you know, my father was a police officer. I'm a divorce lawyer. And one thing we always said is we will always have a job. You know, there's always, unfortunately or fortunately, inventory. People are always going to look to get out of an unhappy or just a situation that just isn't working anymore. So it's always going to be busy. But now I think there's certainly an uptick in cases because people have been essentially locked down for 7 months, and, you know, all the warts have been exposed.
Yeah. Yeah. You almost hope that, like you said, if there's that little crack, that because life is so, short and people want to be happy, that you would hope that there would be some ray of sunshine through that crack where both parties say, wow, how did we start? Go back to the good days and build on that, and stop the finger pointing and say, all right, you know what? As a couple, everything we've built, we have so much to lose. So many people are going to get affected by this. And both of them awaken, that would be an ideal situation. But sadly, that doesn't often happen,
I mean, it does for some.
Yeah.
It does for some. But you need to do some real soul searching, some real compromising, some real develop real skill, really fine skills at communication. It could happen. But what we're seeing is people are realizing life is short, and this isn't a dress rehearsal, and I don't get a do-over, and time is just passing by. And if I'm not happy, what do I need to do to get there?
Yeah. And also, I think as women, if we are the primary caretakers of our children, I often say, what are we teaching our children? Not only in this one aspect of being happy in a marriage or how we should or shouldn't be treated, but even as far as, what we eat. I'm always promoting healthy eating and exercising and things. If we are completely off track on all those things, what are we teaching our kids? And we don't even stop to think about, my God, childhood diabetes, all these things are at its peak. And if we want the future generations to be healthy, we at this point, our young moms are the ones who need to wake up and say, all right, enough is enough. I need to do what I need to do, to step up. Right. And become the best version that I know that I have inside.
Right.
We just lose that over time. And it's so easy to point fingers and blame the world, when if you need to go through a divorce, then just do it, feel strong, move on, and get empowered again, because we all have a gift in us. We all can do so much more. And when I sit and listen to people just, playing the victim all the time, it is frustrating.
It is, but what's motivating that is fear.
Yeah.
Right. They're so afraid. My most rewarding consults are where I'm dealing with women who are so dependent on their spouse. They don't know a lot about finances. It's a very traditional marriage. And when I go through with them that they're getting half of the assets, they're going to get a significant amount of alimony for a long period of time. It's like I watch them straighten up a little more in their chair, and they have a little more pep in their step. And it's such a freeing feeling for them, because they think they're staying because they have no alternative. They don't understand that they're going to receive a significant amount or something by way of assets and support. Right. And be able to, live the way they want to.
Yeah.
And just to circle back on your point about the kids, the psychological literature has changed so much on that, right? So, growing up, we always heard that we're going to stay together for the kids. We got to stay together for the kids. When the kids go to college, then we'll, right. Then we'll separate. And that was always the mantra. And now we hear, that's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. What you're doing is modeling a poor relationship for your children. And so that's what you're showing them marriage or love looks like. And so that's really not a great thing to do. That's not what you want to show them. You want to show them a relationship that's built on mutual respect, kind words, sacrificed by both, compromised by both. So we've really, the pendulum has swung 180 degrees there, thankfully, and people are realizing that we don't have to stay together for the kids, and actually doing that and staying in either an unhappy marriage or especially an abusive marriage is actually more harmful for what you're teaching a child than than staying. So
yeah, no,
than leaving.
absolutely. You are right on again. So, so what kind of advice would you give? I know you just mentioned women who come to you who are in fear, but, you know, smart, intelligent women who, again, maybe have not worked outside the home because that was the best fit, you know, for a particular time. What would you tell them about their, you know, their rights, you know, and their options? I know you touched on it just now. Oh, sorry about my dog, but
Okay, you need to throw him another treat.
yeah.
So I would tell smart, intelligent women, I would tell all women that, you know, heartache is real. Picking the wrong person happens to all of us, myself included, having, you know, been divorced. Went through a divorce when my daughter was 8 weeks old, extremely painful. I would lay on my bed and cry so much that my nose would bleed. I know that heartache is real, like I physically ached. And I would consider myself to be a very strong and smart person. But I didn't choose well, and that happens, or things develop in a relationship that you may not have seen, you know, during the courtship. So, but I know I needed to get out of that relationship. I got out of that relationship. It took a village to do that. You know, it took a lot of leaning on families and friends, and you know, me rehashing a lot of painful things that were happening in my marriage. But now I look back, you know, I'm almost 13 years out of that, and I don't remember the pain anymore. I try to remember the pain. I don't remember it. I'm remarried. I have twins, 10-year-old twins, and, you know, I've built a whole new life for myself. But I think going through that pain, one, I know I can survive anything. Surviving that was painful. Tried to redefine my life, and I think it's made me a better person for living through that, but definitely a better lawyer. I think I understand when my clients are petrified about custody and parenting time issues, when they're afraid about financial issues, but I just knew I didn't want to be stuck. And even if it took me living in a cardboard box, I knew that that was not the life that my parents had envisioned for me, but more importantly, that I had envisioned or I had wanted for myself. So, you know, once I had a defining moment, and that's really what it was just a defining moment that I've had enough. And most, you know, if you're ready to do that, you will have that defining moment. You will just be pushed to a point where you're like, you know what, I'm out. I just can't do this. And there's just no going back. And it happened, you know, you get into a marriage, you get into a relationship. Sometimes you have blinders on. You know, sometimes you're making a decision very young. You know, some people are getting married very young, and it just wasn't the right thing. And sometimes that happens. But to compound that decision that turned out not to be right, and stay, you know, just seems to me to be wasting your life. But with relationships where the parties have had children, what I try to say is, you know, I don't want them to say, I wish I never married them, or this was, you know, a waste, or it's horrible that I did that. You have created children, and that's why the relationship happened. And so if you look at it that way, that you've received the best from them, the best gift in your children, I think it just gives you a better way of approaching it. And, you know, you can really just embrace that was the reason, that was the purpose of this relationship, so that you can have, you know, your kids and take them with you in the next part of the next phase of your journey, as you find out, you know, how to achieve your ultimate happiness. But that would really be my advice is, if you're not happy, if you don't share the same values, if you constantly feel like you're trying to fit that square peg in a round hole, if you're demeaned, you know, certainly there's no place at all for abuse. Name calling is abuse. You don't have to wait to be punched in the face. And most domestic violence is not a punch in the face. It's that walking on eggshells. It's the verbal abuse. It's the harassment. It's the the accusations of infidelity, the financial abuse, withholding support. It's those things that just chip away at the fiber of your being. And at some point you've had enough, and you can be the most powerful woman on the planet, or the smartest, and still just didn't choose well. And it's just time.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I'm sure people who are going to watch this, it's going to strike, some chords. And being a few things came up in my mind, being that we're all stuck at home. People think, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I'm stuck, just like we're doing here. It's good to know that support is available. You can absolutely do consultations like this. If somebody can't, is afraid to get out, right? You can meet people like this live. You can see, you can communicate, and there is support out there. So that's a very important point, that people shouldn't feel, okay, I'm just going to hang in there a little more. And once COVID is done, COVID may not be done for another 6, 8, 10 months, who knows? Yeah. So that's a really good thing. And
that is a silver lining in all of this, is to be able to get on a virtual call like this, or a phone call. I can't tell you how many consultations I've done with people sitting in their car, and they think, the spouse thinks they're running an errand or something. My website has a ton of resources as well, with articles, but there are definitely resources out there. Law firms are open, courts are open. So I'm hoping people are not feeling alone, or that, they have to continue suffering in silence.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. One other quick point came to mind when you were talking about, why were you with this person for that time, and then you have a child or children, if you don't realize that you're verbalizing, oh, you were the biggest mistake I made, whatever, the kids end up hearing the message they're receiving is, I was a mistake.
That's right.
And parents don't realize that when they say that, but I know for a fact that people internalize that. Even if they're as little as 3, 4 years old, they hear that message. And that then is their mindset, that they always feel like, I was an accident, or I was not meant to be. And I'm the reason that there's all these problems, and they take on, a negative mindset, and they live their whole life with that.
Their entire life.
Yeah.
And they'll be in therapy over it as an adult. And, it's one of the biggest takeaways that I hope all parents hear is, you should never badmouth the other parent in the presence or earshot of your kids. Kids love mom and dad. They love them. It's the greatest gift. It just is. They love you, forever. And when you, when you badmouth the other spouse, really, you're just badmouthing your child.
Yeah.
Even if you say, I wish I never met them, exactly what you said is how they internalize that. But even if you call them names or say really anything bad, your child is half that other parent. So really, you're calling your child a name. That's what they hear. And it's just so damaging and detrimental. And I think a lot of people are seeing that and realizing that and not doing that. But it is happening. And I hope parents stop doing that, because it's extremely damaging to kids.
Yeah, it really is.
And you have to be careful, even more so now when you are home and you are on the video call or you're on the phone call. You have to make sure you're speaking to people where your kids can't hear or can't see.
Yeah.
And watch your phone, watch what you're saying, what you're texting, what you're sharing. They are not your friends. Your kids are not your friends. They're not your confidants. They're not your messengers. They don't want to be in this. I mean, really, in their heart of hearts, they want mom and dad to reconcile.
That's right.
Or they want their parents to reconcile. As adults, if you ask an adult child whose parents are divorced, what's one of their top wishes? It would have been, or is, for my parents to reconcile. It's just a childhood dream that stays. And that's what they want. They don't want to read nasty text messages or emails about their other parent.
Yeah.
So, we have to do better. We have to give them the gift of being a kid and loving both of them and supporting that relationship with both parents.
Yeah. Because then, when they're moving into relationships, they always feel, what if I am like my dad? If it's a young boy, my relationships aren't going to last. I'm going to end up divorced like my parents. They carry that mindset, and that's a horrible thing. It really is. It's a lot of what I do is called transformational coaching, and that is changing people's mindset because they don't even realize, my God, I have written this script that I have led my life based on one or two experiences. And until they allow themselves to, dig deep and find out what that is and say, okay, that was then, it's time to let that pain go and heal so you can put into place your new beliefs, as an adult.
Yeah.
And it takes work, but
it's hard work. And sometimes this has been happening to them, as you said, as a very young child. So you have a lot of rewiring to do.
Yeah.
But it's important work.
Yeah.
And it's going to impact their entire life, their relationships, how they parent their own children,
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. So what is your website that you had mentioned?
So my firm is Lawrence Law. We're in Watchung, and we have an office in Red Bank as well. Website is www.lawfirm.com.
Law firm?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time out this morning to, educate us and give a lot of wise words to those who are listening. Thank you very much, Jeralyn. I really
Thank you, Nilima. So nice to see you, and thanks for having me.
All right. You have a great rest of the day.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.